Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Charlesbridge Publishing's Spring 2024 preview, where you will get an inside look at our fabulous releases. First, here is Charlesbridge Senior Editor Karen Boss and author Mitali Banerjee Ruths talking all about Archie Celebrates an Indian Wedding.
Hello, everybody. My name is Karen Boss. I am a senior editor at Charlesbridge Publishing, and I'm here today with Mitali Banerjee Ruths, and I'm so thrilled that we get to talk about your new book with us, Mitali. Can you tell us about why you're excited to be here?
I'm excited to be giving you all a sneak peek at my upcoming picture book, Archie Celebrates an Indian Wedding, which releases April 30th, 2024. And this is a companion to the award-winning Archie Celebrates Diwali that came out in 2021.
Awesome. Yay. All right. So, Mitali, let's talk about this book.
Yeah. So, Karen, you, the team at Charlesbridge, and of course, the wonderful illustrator Parwinder Singh and I got to work on Archie Celebrates Diwali in 2021. Archie gets to have this companion book with Archie Celebrates an Indian Wedding. We meet some of the same characters from the first book. Archie's uncle, Poppy Uncle, is getting married to Miss Julie. Miss Julie is not South Asian, but they're going to have a big Indian wedding. Archie has so much to do to help prepare for the big day. And then Poppy Uncle asks Archie to help out Miss Julie's niece, Emma. And Archie wonders how she's going to have time for everything because a lot happens at an Indian wedding.
There's this phrase in the book that says, it's an Indian wedding. You're supposed to have fun and be happy. And why do we need a phrase like that in this story?
So, Karen, I'm sure you know there's a word mantra that means like a statement or slogan that gets repeated, but that word mantra has its origins in Hinduism and Buddhism, and it means a word, sound, or phrase that gets repeated to help someone focus or become calm or meditate. So that phrase in the book, it's an Indian wedding, you're supposed to have fun and be happy, that becomes a kind of mantra, first for Archie, then for her new friend and soon-to-be cousin Emma, and then for the bride, Miss Julie, because it can feel chaotic, as you know, and unpredictable with a whole roller coaster of emotions at any wedding, and also at an Indian wedding specifically, which often involves so many people. So it's a reminder that in the end, no matter what happens, you're supposed to have fun and be happy at an Indian wedding. The whole Archie series, Archie Celebrates Diwali and Archie Celebrates an Indian Wedding, they're really like windows and mirrors. So if you're from the culture, you will see yourself reflected back. You might see things that you do in your own family and your own community, things that look familiar, that will make you smile or make you feel that sense of recognition. And then for some other readers, maybe this is the first time they've ever experienced or seen an Indian wedding in a picture book or read or learned some of the words. And for them, it could be like a window into celebrations that other people might have. And then again, if they're in a situation where they get invited to an Indian wedding or they see one on screen or represented on a show or movie, they'll have an appreciation or a connection to that. So yeah, it's like those windows and mirrors.
That's fantastic. So can you talk a little bit about the illustrations? I'm just so thrilled that Parwinder Singh was able to do this second book as well. What do you think about the illustrations?
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely great. And I feel so lucky that Parwinder Singh wanted to collaborate on this story again. Like you said, his illustrations, they're so colorful, so vibrant. They pull you into the celebration. He took the words and he delivered something so beautiful and festive. He really captured what it's like to be at a big, happy Indian wedding. And one treat for me is he actually got to show me the story. He gave me a window and a mirror into this world as well. The book itself is meant to be a fun story, one that hopefully kids, young readers want to read. And of course, Parwinder's fabulous illustrations, like we talked about, add a lot of detail and help people get into sort of the movie of the book because it's so visually rich. But at the back of the book, there is more information for readers who are curious that shares a bit more about Indian weddings. And then there's a glossary so readers can see a definition of some words they may or may not be familiar with that are used in the story.
Mitali, do you have anything last you want to say?
Be sure to check out Archie Celebrates an Indian Wedding on April 30th, 2024. And thanks so much, Karen and the Charlesbridge team, for giving me this opportunity to share another one of Archie's adventures in this family-filled story of discovery, joy, and building new relationships. Thanks so much.
There is nothing better after a holiday or celebration than cozying up with the littles and reading a good book. And we have just the books to make that event even more special. In Sammy's special gift, we are introduced to Sammy, whose family is gearing up for the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha, which celebrates the end of Hajj, falling on the 10th day of the last month of the Islamic calendar. Sammy, however, is a bit sad. His grandfather, or Dede, passed away, and they always went to the carnival together. Then, a surprise comes in the mail. Nene sent Dede's favorite Eid necktie over for Sammy to wear. As the family goes about their day, Sammy is introduced to the true meaning of Eid and the importance of charity, gratitude, and sharing.
I think all educators and readers will definitely benefit from a book like this. Like, this is about a Muslim holiday that a lot of people just don't even know anything about, and it's a very great windows and mirrors type of story.
I think it's really great for teachers if you're doing a worldwide religion course, or if you just want to explore something new. I think this is a really cool celebration holiday book. Sammy, he explores a lot of different feelings in this story, experiencing the first holiday without his grandfather. I find that super special in this story. He knows that his Dede would want him to do something kind for this young boy in the shelter who had to leave everything behind.
This next picture book is a sweet and humorous Jewish story about preparing for Shabbat. Michal Babe brings readers on a rambunctious adventure with Lele and her dog, Pickles. The two of them are helping to prepare for Shabbat. They need to help clean the house and also collect donations, but it all goes sideways with so many distractions, leaving the big question, will those finish in time for candle lighting? So I wanted to ask you, when you look at this book, what about it just gets you so excited?
I love that this book portrays chaotic fun. This is a special celebration on a Friday, and mom needs help. And sometimes there's a lot going on. And I really, really love this book. I also love that the dog's name is Pickles, because that's just a perfect dog name.
I agree. This is another windows and mirrors type of title for a Jewish holiday that isn't tied to a specific time of year, but a specific time of the week. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating when I first saw this book.
When you get a holiday book, you can really only read it once a year, unless, you want to experience a new,
Christmas in July.
Yeah, Christmas in July. But I think this is really special because this is a all-around book that you can enjoy whenever.
There are even suggestions at the back of the book that anybody can do in their daily lives, whether they're Jewish or not. It can be as simple as doing things like helping the elderly, visiting the sick, being welcoming and respectful, finding a lost item and returning it. I like to wrap this up with Global Baby Grandparents. Fans of the Global Baby series will appreciate this new addition to the board books as we celebrate grandparents and their special connections with their grandbabies. Little listeners and grandparents both will enjoy discovering how others around the world play, sing, read, and eat. Adorable photos of this special bond makes this a perfect gift for Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Grandparents' Day. And as always, part of the proceeds will be donated to Global Fund for Children to support innovative community-based organizations that serve the world's most vulnerable children and youth.
It's just super sweet. You get to see a ton of different kids with their grandparents, and the joy just pours off the pages. It's just another great book in the Global Baby series. So can't ask for much more than that. So one of my favorite stories to read as a kid and today is that of the hero's journey. So watching them struggle and persevere to fight for what they believe in and fight for a better outcome than what they started with is so meaningful to me. Heroes find the thing that makes them special and it applies it to their conflicts, or even as a tool to help those who cannot help themselves. I don't know about you, but those are the stories that matter most to me. So one such story we have on our Spring 2024 list is that of If Lynn Can by Richard Hub. Readers of all ages will find some piece of this story to relate to as they delve into the life of NBA star Jeremy Lin. and how his achievements helped Asian Americans shoot for the stars. The book asks the reader if they've ever been told they can't. The kid characters are young Asian Americans who find that they are not alone, that there is another person out there who also felt the same way they do, and pushed and fought through it all without ever giving up on himself. We see Lin through his childhood years as he was teased for his race and his height, but fought to be a better version of himself every day and not to give in. Lin's determination sticks with him, even as he encounters rejection after rejection, until finally his hard work leads him to greatness and helps open the doors for kids who look just like him. Now, I love how this book is framed. We start with a group of Asian American kids who are facing obstacles, being told that they can't. Then one day, they happen upon a story of another Asian American who could. Why do you think it's important for kids, especially diverse kids, to examine the meaning of the word can't?
I think that's something that's been told a lot to kids, especially diverse kids. I think we talk a lot about kind of what's missing from library shelves, in particular these days. It's diverse stories, it's contemporary diverse stories for sure. And I think the fact that Jeremy Lin, who is a bona fide NBA basketball rock star, I mean, come on, we talk about Lin's sanity. He was literally a movement and this institution in professional sports. And in this book, we figure out that he's told when he makes his high school basketball team, you can't. When he makes his college basketball team, you can't. When he makes a professional team, you can't.
To have a real life story of somebody who proved that wrong, I think is just hugely important for kids to see that story.
I think this is a really great example of a good role model. And that leads me into my next question, which is, what do you think of the concept of role models? Why are they so crucial in the development of young children?
I think there's role modeling and then there is just like behavior modeling. Like, I think there's a difference between like you have to be the person that proves this can happen, and there's that idea that you can be the person that proves if you work hard enough, if you're kind, or if you're dedicated. I think there are different kind of opportunities to model and not have the weight, I guess is what I'm looking for, being a role model. What do you think?
I actually agree with that. I like the way you put that. You think about the people that have influenced you and why do they influence you? You know, not necessarily everything about that person is ideal, but what they did in terms of this situation was great, and you pull from that.
Yeah. Sometimes in stories, you have to find the hero within, and that's what we find here with Miguel in La Mala Suerte is Following Me by Ana Siqueira. Miguel proclaims himself as the luckiest boy around. He's got good grades, he's a great goalie, but it all begins to change when he opens an umbrella inside. His abuela lets him know that this will bring La Mala Suerte, Mrs. Bad Luck, into his life. And so begins Miguel's spin with bad luck. Miguel tries every trick in the book to get rid of La Mala Suerte, but to no avail. Eventually, he takes his mama's advice to heart. You make your own suerte, Miguel. Now, I have to ask you guys, do you carry around any superstitions, even as kids?
Oh man, I think the umbrella inside the house, that was one that was continually part of kind of what I was told at school, at home, any place in between.
Like, I know superstitions, but they've never really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the whole black cat idea. Just makes me sad because I had a black cat, you know, and I love them. So the idea of like, you know, superstitions kind of affects them.
Absolutely. Well, also, there is a black cat at the end of the book that Miguel is not worried about because he knows he can conquer his superstitions. I like the way this book plays with the concept of you make your own luck. What do you think about that statement? Do you believe that you can create your own luck?
I do, and I also kind of don't. So like, I think that people are fortunate and like timing on certain things are just really good. But also in the back of my head, I'm always thinking like, you don't want to use it as a crutch or a reason. And like, and you kind of see that in the story where he's like, it's bad luck. Like, because I did this, all this is happening to me. And it gets flipped because then he's like, well, I'll make it good luck himself.
Somebody told me once, and it kind of stuck with me, you can pray, but you should move your feet. So I think there's a little bit of like, Yes, there may be some luck or some chance or some fortuitous timing, and that's great. But you also have an influence on whatever is going to happen. And like, you should help your own destiny. You should help your own outcome.
I really find this book interesting because superstition is present in many cultures. Even the theme of making your own luck is very universal. I'm happy to say that this is going to be published in both English and Spanish.
Simultaneously released.
Absolutely. And what's also cool is that the back matter includes a list of common international superstitions and examines different countries and their own superstitions and solutions. It even has activities where you can create your own and calls for readers to do their own research. Not only do heroes exist in fiction, but also we have a plethora of examples in our history. African American history is filled with countless heroes who have fought for their rights and stood up to those who would like to see them diminished. In I Heard by Jahan Naila Avery, an artist invites kids into her studio where she teaches and paints the history of their heritage. From the shores of Africa to the stain of slavery, the battle for civil rights, to today, where African Americans continue to fight every day. The art in this story is sublime. Illustrator Steffi Walthall has perfectly encapsulated the concept of an art teacher bringing history to life. It's one of the most beautifully illustrated books I've seen.
I think our acquiring editor said this is an ambitious project, and I don't know if it can happen. And then when they got the text to someplace where they could see it in picture book form, I think Steffi's challenge was, oh God, how do you take this ambitious text and then make it a visual masterpiece? And she's done it so beautifully because she does incorporate and illustrate history as this living, breathing, changing concept, right? She takes that sketch form and then slowly kind of transforms it and transfers it into these finished, beautiful watercolors. And I took that as the opportunity to say, nothing is ever final. There's always this kind of moving piece of what we're learning about any piece of history.
So not only does the art leave a lasting impression, but the text is even more stunning. The lyricism that Avery blends within the page is rich in history and lessons for the future. Back matter gives more detail to the points in the history touched on within the story, and an author's note concludes. So I read her author's note and I was blown away by how gorgeous it was. Quote, "In this work, I hope to capture the fullness and the richness of our experiences as a people in both triumph and despair."
You know, we talk a lot about why certain authors are the people to write this book. And Jaha has this like insane amount of talent. She's an academic, right, by trade. She's a professor. And then this is her first book for children. And she writes this all-encompassing history in lyrical text. It's just beautiful.
I was definitely concerned when we first were told about the book. The history is so fast and so up and down and dark and like a little scary. How to do it appropriately and age appropriately. And then I read the manuscript and I was like, she nailed it. The way she approached it, the way she transitioned from like the different parts of the history and stuff, she just did it so wonderfully.
I mean, this is a picture book for early elementary schoolers. And you're right, it takes this tough, dark concept and she doesn't shy away from it. She's actually accurate through the whole thing. And I think one of the things that she does so beautifully is kind of what we try to do on the Charlesbridge list, right? We try to be informative and not shy away from all of the pieces of history just because they might not be shiny or pretty. It's information, and we all deserve to know accuracy about that past so we can inform the future.
In our final story of the hero's journey, we travel to the land of fairy tales. But this fairy tale has a little bit of a contemporary twist. Here is author Janae Brown Wood discussing her new book, Mahogany, A Little Red Riding Hood Tale.
Hi everyone, I'm Julie Bliven, a senior editor at Charlesbridge, and I'm delighted to be in conversation today with Janae Brown Wood. We get to talk about her latest and also another great one, Mahogany, A Little Red Riding Hood Tale.
Yes. So Julie, I got a chance to do a twisted, fractured fairy tale. And I thought, hey, I can picture a fun little spunky character named Mahogany, who is Little Red Riding Hood. So we get some of the similar aspects of the classic fairy tale where she's off to her grandma's house. But in this story, she's heading to G-Ma's house and she's got some honey cornbread to share for dinner. And of course, she comes across her, her nemesis, we'll say, the big bad wolf. But
some of the new elements of that is Mahogany really gets to think about her own talents, her own identity, and her Blackness. And this is what helps her to outwit this big bad wolf.
Janae, that was the part that really spoke to me when I got this manuscript, because retellings can be pretty commonplace. So there can be some fierce competition for retellings, right? But this one just struck me as so creative, so clever, and like nothing I'd ever seen before, because of the fact that you didn't just make Mahogany black to sort of like check a box of like, okay, this is a retelling and Little Red Riding Hood's black. It's like, oh no, who she is as a Black girl is pivotal to the plot line.
I've got a lot of fodder and ideas from my own childhood, things that I was happy about, but then also things that I contemplate a lot. And one of those things is, of course, the lack of diversity. When I grew up, I just did not find very many books that featured strong, spunky Black characters just living their lives. And so that's especially the case for fairy tales. You know, I loved hearing about fairy tales and Goldilocks and all of these really, core pieces of her childhood. But I never remember seeing any that featured me, right? Or any that featured aspects of my own life. So that's what I wanted to bring to Mahogany. I wanted to bring the similar storyline, but to embed, again, some of the sort of cultural Black elements into that story. And not just that, Julie, I wanted those to almost be like her superpower. I'll give one example. It's her hair, right? She's got this curly, natural hair, but she uses that hair to stand beside a willow tree that's, blowing in the wind. She uses that and the shadows to hide from the big bad wolf as she's trying to figure out what to do to thwart this bad guy. So that's just one example. And not just her Blackness in that case, but also her talent. And we get to know right off that she likes to sew. It makes sense. She makes her hood, right? Her cloak. But even that talent comes into play and helps her overtake the big bad wolf. And when I think about this story too, the idea of it being a retelling, and a retelling that really infuses, like in this case, love and acceptance of Blackness, I could absolutely see educators using this book as a tool, then to turn it back on the readers and say, now, if you were to write a Little Red Riding Hood story that includes your talents and your cultural heritage, what would it be like? Write it,
yes.
Illustrate it, share. And I mean,
Janae,
think about the rich conversations that kids could have with each other, kids can have with the teacher. I mean, how much fun is that? Like, I hope that I get to do something like that with kids. I just hope that when readers read this story, that they laugh out loud, that they, in all the parts where the comedy is there, that they get it, and that it moves them to just laughter that fills the room.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Mahogany, A Little Red Riding Hood Tale. Again, coming out March 19th, 2024, right around the corner. We're just so lucky to have this one on our list. Thank you, Janae.
Thank you, and it's such a pleasure to chat with you, and it's such an honor to continue to work with you and Charlesbridge with the amazing books that you help to put out into the world. So thank you.
Our STEM books prove that learning can be interactive and fun, ensuring that each reader walks away with more knowledge and even some fun facts that they'll be able to share with their grown-ups. What better way to introduce how interactive our STEM books are than to introduce our first STEM title coming out this spring, Hands-on Science, Lotion. Lola Schaefer and Drusilla Santiago continue their Hands-on Science series with their next picture book, Hands-on Science, Lotion. Between Lola's simple language and Drusilla's clean illustrations, readers are invited into the physics lab this time to use their imagination as they explore what motion is and how it can be effective. Readers get to poke whipped cream or tilt the book and roll a ball down a ramp. They can even learn about friction by sliding beanbags. I have to say, Lola and Drusilla have been doing an excellent job with the Hands-on Science series. Their books are well done and highly interactive. First, they gave us matter, inviting readers to smash clay and to explore the changes of shape. And then they did geology for anyone who loves volcanoes and fossils. Now readers get to play with marbles and learn more about what physics is in a simple way.
As a kid, science didn't come very easily to me, and I'd never taken a physics class. So I think that this is a really great way to introduce it to a young age of kids who are STEM obsessed or STEM interested.
You know, Lola Schaefer is a seasoned elementary educator, and that totally comes through with these texts. And I'm with you. Like, I was not a science kid, but I feel like Lola has this ability to make science not only age appropriate, but engaging and fun. And she makes it feel like play. I mean, motion is something that kids don't realize is in their daily existence. You're learning physics before you enter preschool. I mean, and she and Drusilla have really worked really hard to make the lab interactive. You know, you touch this book, you tilt it, you shake it, you turn it upside down. That's what I love about this one and the entire series.
As somebody who loved science as a kid, I love these books. I absolutely do. They, you know, as you said, they're highly interactive. But the back matter also includes like a simple experiment for the little readers to do with their grown-ups. I think this book is definitely a must-have for anyone who loves to explore and interact with the STEM field. Did you know velociraptors are the size of toy cars when they're babies?
Nope.
That's slightly terrifying.
Well, I definitely didn't know until I read Big Babies. Written and illustrated by Patrick O'Brien, any fans of Jurassic Park and dinosaurs will appreciate this new STEM title, as our favorite and well-known dinosaurs are compared to recognizable items like rubber ducks and stuffed animals. Each spread features a favorite dinosaur as a little baby, including the T-Rex, a rather fluffy-looking T-Rex, mind you. Including with the dinosaur is an item that a child would recognize and a hint of the true size of an adult version of the baby dinosaur.
I think it's gonna blow kids' minds, honestly, right? Because we teach that dinosaurs are all these huge creatures, right? And they're almost mythical. And then nobody really talks about like what they look like as babies. And Patrick O'Brien takes this really clever concept, being like, okay, let's take something from your toy chest or from your playroom, and this dinosaur as a baby was the size of your little dump truck or your Thanksgiving turkey, or like, you know, like all of these things that kids will know. Go, okay, I guess everybody starts small.
The back matter of this book includes a spread of colored silhouettes of each baby dinosaur and compares them to a 4-foot-tall kid. Any child will appreciate that the big, mighty dinosaurs they look up to and love were once small, just like them. Color doesn't exist. The sky is not blue. The grass is not green. A violet is not even violet. From page 1, Elizabeth Rush challenges children to think about what color really is in the second book in the All About Noticing series, All About Color. With Elizabeth Goss's unique art style of paper cutting, Elizabeth Rush shows kids a completely different way to look at the world. Last time she challenged readers to consider what nothingness is. This time it's about color. A simple picture book like this does so many for the readers. It connects art to science and culture, to sports and social emotional learning. Readers learn how color can be a signal, a call for help, or stand out, or to stand together. It can affect moods and so much more.
Yeah, I think social emotional skills too are sometimes it's about understanding and questioning what you have been told to believe versus what you actually can think of something. And there's this really interesting thing about color, both as perception and as fact. That's really hard to get to preschoolers through like kindergarten, grade 1, which is what the Liz's, as we've taken to calling them in-house, have done, and they've done so really effectively. We're asking kids to really take a deep thought on what are they seeing, what are they feeling, and then what do they actually think the actual answer is.
So what I love about this book, so at the end of the book, they ask an important question. And I think it encompasses like this whole series in general. What can you say with color that you can't say any other way? I love that question. And I think for me, for what All About Color is, it's such a great question, because like color is to a lot of people, it's art. You use it in art. And in art, you use that as a way to express yourself. It's a different form of communication. And for kids, you know, like that is huge for them. They don't always know the right words. They don't always understand what they're feeling. And if they can understand color and what it means and how it makes them feel and like reflect that out in their own art, it's another way for them to talk to their grown-ups, talk to other people. And I love that question so much. We know Keela Dawson for her lovely poetry and No Voice Too Small and No World Too Big. And I'm excited to share that she's the author of her next storytelling math series, Yumbo Gumbo. Illustrated by Katie Crumpton, Keela shares a piece of her life in New Orleans and the yummy food that her family loves to cook. I had the pleasure of speaking with Keela about her picture book. Let's take a look at what Keela has to say about Yumbo Gumbo. Hello, my name is Jaleesa Burwell and I'm a sales and marketing assistant here at Charlesbridge. Today I have the pleasure to introduce Keela V. Dawson, author of our next storytelling math book, Yumbo Gumbo, coming out on February 20th, 2024.
Hello, I'm Keela. I write fiction and nonfiction picture books. And before I became a children's author, I worked as a community organizer, an educator, and an advocate for children with disabilities. I'm a New Orleans native who has lived and worked in states from coast to coast and in different countries. Today, I live in Cincinnati, Ohio.
What was your favorite part of writing Yumbo Gumbo?
Annabelle believed that voting was a fair way to decide on what gumbo her family will cook for dinner. But she also believes that that vote is going to come into her favor. But each vote keeps ending in a tie. So I had to give her an aha moment, which Katie illustrated really well. At that moment, she's forced to change what they're voting for. I had a lot of fun developing Annabelle and Beau's personalities. From the very beginning, readers can predict that Annabelle is going to find a way to get what she wants. And the parts where her little brother Beau expresses his emotions through his rubber chicken were really fun to write. And it actually does a little squawking in the book. I totally enjoyed working with Alyssa, the editor at Charlesbridge, and Marlene, the math expert at Turk. I learned so much about writing math for kids, for young children. And I was a teacher, and I still learned a lot from Marlene. She explained that she wanted young readers to follow Annabelle's thinking. And she mentioned that 3 and 4-year-olds may not have had the experience to use ballots or tallies or anything that's represented by a picture. So moving the characters in different groups, young children can track the results of each vote. I think Yumbo Gumbo shows readers that kids gather information all the time. And when they think deeply about it, they can find creative solutions, just like Annabelle did. And there's also a cultural component. So readers see people of color existing in an ordinary, everyday kind of way. And that's important because there have been attempts to appropriate Louisiana Creole culture and erase Black, Indian, and people of color out of Louisiana history. From my author's note, I use gumbo as a reference, and because it is the official state cuisine of Louisiana, to explain our pre-American multicultural roots.
What do you hope young readers will take away from this book?
Well, I hope they find as much joy reading it as I did writing it. I still laugh reading some of the parts. And I hope that they realize also that they collect and use information that we call data every day. They use that information to make decisions, just like Annabelle did. They can also use that information to answer questions or to seek answers to the questions that they have.
Thank you so much, Keela, for joining us for a little talk around Yumbo Gumbo. Once again, Keela is the author of our next storytelling math book, Yumbo Gumbo, which is coming out on February 20th. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We first had Where Do Creatures Sleep at Night? And then we had Where Do Big Creatures Sleep at Night? So what comes after that?
Small creatures?
How about Where Do Ocean Creatures Sleep at Night?
Oh, I love it.
That makes more sense, yeah.
Stephen Simmons and Clifford Simmons are back with more creatures in their sleeping habits. Followed with Ruth Harper's absolutely gorgeous illustrations, readers are brought under the ocean to learn about where their favorite ocean creatures sleep. This narrative nonfiction is perfect for a bedtime read as the rhyming text is followed along with sweet, warm images of slumbering ocean creatures.
Well, I can say as a parent, I'm always looking for a different version of a bedtime book, and I love that this is talking about all right, these are how all of your now aquatic or ocean creatures sleep, and then I can automatically make the connection. Now it's your turn, right? So it's a really lovely, unique bedtime story for sure.
Some of them actually sleep in very cute ways. One of my favorite spreads is the seahorse one. I like seahorses for because I thought they were cute and a little mystical and weird. Like, I don't know, they're absolutely fascinating. And I didn't realize until I read this book that they actually sleep by wrapping their tails around like coral and plant life.
So they don't drift away.
Yeah, so they don't drift away.
All right.
So
Pretty
smart.
clever.
So smart.
I think readers will love this book as they learn about their favorite ocean animals and also meet new animals they may not have ever known about before. Many may already be familiar with I Guess, and I'm excited to announce that we're now releasing a boardbook version of this backlist favorite. 6 different woodland creatures are introduced first by just their eyes and a brief description. Little listeners are invited to guess which creature it is before flipping the page and finding out. Each featured animals familiar to young children: a duck, a turtle, a frog, a raccoon, a mouse, and an owl. It's a kid-friendly board book to invite toddlers to learn more about animals they're familiar with.
I mean, Phyllis Limbacher Childress just has this great, like, classic style, and I loved it in the board book version of this Charlesbridge backlist staple. You get a really close-up version of her art, and it's just as stunning with the detail. And I also love that she's really made it a guessing game, right? So you get these clues on whose eye you're seeing first, and then you flip the page to guess. Is it a turtle, a mouse, a raccoon, or what have you? All right, so Spring 24 offers up a ton of fun for would-be gardeners, green thumbs, and those just wanting to think spring. Some picture books count really just as beautiful, and You Are a Little Seed certainly fits that bill. Geared for ages 2 to 5, this one comes packed with themes of resilience and the encouragement to grow with pride and self-acceptance. It conveys an enduring yet subtle and satisfying message, as this lyrical story shares how seeds, like children, can blossom in so many environments.
When I saw it, I couldn't stop smiling as I flipped through it. You know, like kids, when you're growing up, you're being teased, your differences are being pointed out. And like Your Little Seed shows you that like these different flowers, you know, they start out one way and then they blossom into something beautiful and gorgeous.
It's a fabulous metaphor.
You know, I think toddlers and preschoolers will absolutely understand kind of the concept here. We all have obstacles to overcome, and we all grow like flowers. It's also got a ton of curriculum hooks in it, if I'm being honest. And I think, you know, you think about SEL, anything about life cycle units, or really just any story or story time that leans into things like April showers, spring May flowers, or at a certain point like we all get to where it's just like, oh my gosh, can we just think spring? All right, friends, can you imagine, you ready for it? The cuteness of Lola from the Lola Reed series in a beekeeping suit. Well, that's exactly what's happening when our star of Lola at the Library comes to market with her 9th adventure, Lola Meets the Bees, with a charming introduction to urban beekeeping and the importance of bees. So Lola wants to learn more about beekeeping from her mother's friend Zora. The two suit up to visit the hive on the roof of Zora's city apartment building. And Lola learns about pollination, the special dance honeybees do to communicate, and how the queen bee and the worker bees make the honey stores. Back at home, Lola, like we know she will, makes a small garden of her own to attract bees and encourage pollination. Per usual, she's got a lot of great ideas packed into her sparse text in 28 pages, offering up lots of pre-literacy learning while conducting online research, making signs for the garden, and reading picture books to help her understand, as she impresses upon preschooler readers everywhere just what a critical role bees play in our global ecosystem. Did we think that Lola would ever beekeep?
I should have imagined she would have beekeep. She's the most ambitious little girl in literature. She goes all over the place. I love her. I love her little determination to want to continue to learn. And I think beekeeping is such a really cool thing to learn about. And Lola's the perfect person to teach it to.
Plus, there are 2 Bee Day holidays to celebrate. World Bee Day is on May 20th, and World Honeybee Day is on August 17th. What do you guys love about Lola in general? She's just such a staple for so many libraries.
I think you can do a lot with Lola. I think Lola, with the beekeeping, with grandma coming to visit, with reading stories with dad, like there's so many things that I think Lola does and experiences that I think Lola is a perfect character for showing kids different types of social emotional learning and even just different types of learning in general.
I love Lola. She opens it up for kids being able to find books where they can see themselves doing what she's doing, you know. Each book that's in the series, any kid can also do that if they're open up for it.
I love that it's urban beekeeping too, that bees are ever present in all kinds of neighborhoods. Next spring also sees the return of the Sunshine Squad with Chicken Soup for the Soul Kids, the Sunshine Garden, a sunny celebration of friendship, teamwork, and community. Mia's neighbor, Mr. Angelo, has been under the weather, so he asked her to take care of his garden for a bit. Mia is sure she doesn't need help, but after hours of weeding in the sun, she realizes that gardens are, in fact, a lot of work. This is a job for the Sunshine Squad. Soon, each squad member contributes to the garden using their own superpower and creativity. As the garden comes together, the friends begin to see how their teamwork can pay off. If there's something special they can do for Mr. Angelo in the end as a team, we'll have to read to find out. You know, I happen to love the Sunshine Squad just as a name, and I love how it makes me smile and how it really models that community forward-thinking behavior and how kindness is spread when more people do use it. You know, the back matter includes suggestions for how to be a team player and ideas for team projects. And Chicken Soup for the Soul Kids picture books impart good values through heartwarming and humorous stories to help kids put their best foot forward. What do you guys think of when you think Chicken Soup?
I think of a fabulous community. I think of kids coming together to solve everyday problems, and I think that they solve them in a really wonderful and community-based way. They do it together.
I think all the stories in general, they're heartwarming to read in terms of seeing like the community come together, the problem solving that they have to go through, and just that support that kids are learning to do. As you know, especially with how like COVID has happened and stuff like that, and like the isolation that people have gone through, that like that community feeling had kind of like got lost a little bit. And now it's like these are ways to reintroduce it to kids and to remind them that lending a helping hand to the people around you is just as important.
Yeah, I think the Sunshine Garden in particular is a really good example that you can be a really lovely and contributing member of any community at any age. Worth mentioning that we'll also have a new release on the board book line, the Chicken Soup for the Soul Babies. I Can't Keep Trying, which addresses perseverance with an adorable lamb and chick.
Hola a todos, yo soy Natalia, asistente editora en Charlesbridge.
Hola, yo soy Miguel, soy asistente administrativo de Charlesbridge.
Hoy les vamos a estar hablando de uno de los libros que tenemos en español y vamos a comenzar con No es un frijol por Claudia Guadalupe Martínez. Este libro sigue lo que no es un frijol, es una vulva de una vaina, y en México le dicen un frijol saltarín, y en realidad por lo que es un saltarín es porque tiene una oruga que eventualmente se convierte en una polilla. En el libro van a seguir a los personajes, a los niños con la vaina según el ciclo de vida ocurre, y vamos a aprender a contar del 1 al 10. Ahora que tenemos el libro y ya saben nuestros lectores de lo que se trata, ¿cuál es tu parte favorita de No es un frijol?
Para mí lo que me gustó es que la historia es como de el perspectivo del frijol y como juega un poco con la perspectiva porque piensas que es solo un frijol, una planta, pero al final ves que hay un animal adentro y es como una gran sorpresa.
A mí eso me gusta también. La otra parte que a mí me gusta es que tenemos también el aspecto de la geografía de México y le trae visibilidad a otras comunidades, a otros lugares.
Uh-huh.
Y por eso a mí me gusta mucho también.
Sí, eso me gustó también. Hay muchas páginas que puedes ver el desierto en una perspectiva un poco más linda, que a lo mejor a veces pensamos que el desierto es como arena y nada más, pero puedes ver que hay mucha vida ahí dentro.
Lo otro también es que está lleno de muchas palabras que son en español, pero son específicas a la cultura mexicana, y eso pues le muestra también a los diferentes lectores, los expone a diferentes acentos, a diferentes vocabulario. porque todos nosotros hablamos español, pero lo hablamos distinto.
Sí, claro. Hola, hoy vamos a hablar de este libro que se llama No es un monstruo. Este libro les enseña de el anfibio, el ajolote. Es un animal muy particular, como pueden ver en el libro. Pero también les enseña un poco de dónde viene, que es un animal que viene de México, entonces trae mucha cultura e historia y mitología bien. Y al final, pues tiene un mensaje que no es solo de las cosas del animal o solo salvaje, pero también cómo el ajolote vive con nosotros y cómo nosotros humanos vivimos con el ajolote. A mí siempre me ha gustado este animal porque tiene un color muy único. Hay unos que son un poco más gris, pero como pueden ver aquí, los barranquillas son rosados. Es muy, muy lindo, pienso. También hay otros tipos de ajolotes que son, como dije, que son rosados. Pues lo hace muy único, muy lindo, pienso. Como pueden ver aquí. ¿Tú te gustaste?
A mí me gusta mucho, y ahora que tú estabas hablando de los colores, eso es una de las cosas que me gusta de este libro, es que según vemos el ciclo de vida del ajolote, también vamos aprendiendo colores de diferentes cosas. Hay carpas, hay corteza, hay botes, hay diferentes cosas, y cada cosa pues aprendemos los diferentes colores, así que ese sería un concepto bien chévere para los maestras y maestros y los niños que estén en la escuela, pero también con los padres.
Sí, y también en la versión en inglés también hay palabras en español que están mezcladas en el texto en una manera natural. Todos los niños pueden aprender un poco del español y con contexto también.
Yo no sé a ti, pero a mí me gusta mucho también el hecho de que tenemos la mitología azteca, porque se ven las ilustraciones, también aprendemos del dios azteca de los monstruos, que es como quien dice, pues, según la leyenda, es de dónde sale el ajolote, y eso a mí me gusta mucho porque también expone a los lectores a la cultura mexicana de una manera bien divertida. Y tenemos también al mismo dúo dinámico que no es un frijol, Laura González, que es la ilustradora, y Claudia Guadalupe Martínez, que es la escritora, y ellas las dos también son de México, así que son expertas en el tema, en la cultura, en el lenguaje. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Natalia y hoy les voy a estar hablando del libro Las truchas están hechas de árboles. Este libro es no ficción, así que se enfatiza más bien en la ciencia y a través de las aventuras de estos niños aprendemos lo que es el ciclo de vida, el ciclo de alimentación de las truchas. Una de las cosas que me gusta mucho de este libro es la manera tan fácil en que April escribió la ciencia. Es bien accesible, bien simple, pero a la misma vez explica todo de una manera que los niños pueden entender y que va a interesarles mucho seguir investigando acerca del proceso del ciclo de alimentación. ¿Qué te gusta a ti?
Sí. Algo lo que me gustó es los dibujos están dibujados con unos colores que como dan la impresión y el sentido de estar en la naturaleza. Muchos verdes, marrones, anaranjado también.
Lo otro que a mí me gusta mucho es que incluso con las ilustraciones y todo, y con la historia también, aprendemos no solo de lo que es el ciclo de alimentación, pero también la vida específica de la trucha desde que nace, desde que sale del huevito hasta que pues se la comen.
La autor enseña lo que pasa en la naturaleza, pero lo presenta en una manera que es accesible para los niños.
Así que si les gusta lo que están escuchando, pueden comprar Las truchas están hechas de árboles en la primavera de 2024.